Hey guys, my name is Esteban. Today we're going to be explaining how to use credit and how to leverage credit to your advantage and kind of get the inside scoop of getting the perks and getting pretty much cash back and using it to your full potential, I guess you can say. So a lot of people don't really understand what credit is. Credit is pretty much anything that the bank wants to lend you, either it be a credit line, a loan. You can kind of see a loan as credit because they're kind of fronting you X amount of dollars in order to get for your needs. So basically, an example, you go to a car dealership. Not a lot of people understand that that it's banks giving you that money, regardless if you went through a bank before or they're running your credit to get approved for that. So you got to realize it's either a lender or a bank that's giving you that money, and it's kind of like a credit and you're just paying it back monthly. But today we're going to be kind of more specifically talking about credit cards, on how to use them, what not to do, what to do, because I know a lot of people they get themselves into a lot of debt. A lot of people don't like credit cards, but it all depends on how you use them. So today we're just going to start pretty much going to the basics. Personally, I built credit the way anybody, like majority of Americans pretty much do, is get a car loan. I mean, it's not the best. I did get it's like a $35,000 car at 18, making like maybe $2,000 a month. So financially, it was not a good decision, but it did kind of set me up to get into, the bank's kind of like, hey, he's paying X amount of money every month. I'm not saying to go get a crazy car loan. I'm just kind of, a car loan is not really a good idea, but maybe even get a secured car. So what a secured card is, you go to any institution, bank, financial, like Chase, AMX, probably not AMX, but we'll get to that later. Just any institution that kind of offers credit cards. And even if you don't have credit, you can kind of put up money, say anywhere from like $200 to $1,000, $200 or $1,000. And what you would do is you kind of front them the money. So like, say for instance, I'm a new beginner, I'm 18 years old, I just turned 18 and I want to go start my credit. So what you would do is you would kind of come out of pocket $500 and be like, hey bank, I want to open a credit card, but I don't have any credit. So what they're going to do is we're going to have a secured card, meaning you put $500 and that's going to be your credit limit. So you can spend, pay back throughout that $500. And then say in a year or two you don't want it anymore. So what they'll do is they'll give you back the $500, because technically if you were to burning meaning as in like run off and don't pay your credit card, technically it was your money, so you're kind of burning yourself in that loop. But once you get past that stage, say you're trying to rebuild your credit, a secured card is probably the best card you can possibly get, because they have no risk. So really, you're putting money up to build your credit, which is probably the best thing, even if you're just building or you're just kind of starting out. So second, once you start building that relationship, I recommend going through a credit union, anywhere from, I know Rally, or what is it, it was Navy, Army. They don't really have credit cards, but they do loans. I would kind of stay in the credit card area, because loans at a young age, if somebody gives you $1,000, $2,000 at a young age, you're more likely to spend it rather than have a credit card and have that incentive of paying it off every single month, rather than giving $1,000 to pay off 12 months, because you have more like, okay, I'm going to pay it off next month, and then you forget, and it just kind of keeps going and going and going. So really, just build that credit with the secured card. Once you're ready for an actual credit card and they give you a $5,000 limit with your bank or any institution you choose, start using it. I recommend just throw that debit card away. Not in a sense of throwing it actually away, but just don't use it. The same way you go pump gas and charge the card is the same way you're going to swipe it like a credit card. So what you would do is, say a bank gives you $500, go to just live your life how you usually live it. You go out to eat, credit card. And the best advice I can give you, so you don't really get into debt, at an early age or even starting out, pay it this instantly. Let's say you're pumping gas, you pay $40 with your credit card. Go into your Chase, go into wherever you have your credit card, pay it with your checking account. Like same day, basically within the same minute, pay it. So that way you don't have it building up throughout the month. And that's where a lot of people get stuck, where they're building up all this, they're spending, because the bank gives you $1,000. It's technically not even your money, so you're just gonna spend it. And it's easier to spend money and get into debt like that because a lot of people are just spending it at, like, if it's not their money, but in reality you're gonna have to pay it back at the end of the month. So ideally, if you can't handle yourself and you don't understand how to control yourself in spending and splurging out, and oh, bank gave me $1,000, let me go buy these AirPods, let me go buy this stuff you don't really even need, I would recommend anytime you spend on it, pay it back same day. Don't worry about it. And it's pretty much like a debit card, but the only thing is you're getting points for travel. You're either getting cash back or whatever else they offer, which majority of the time it is points, which you can use for hotels and traveling for like flights and everything. The other thing is cash back. I know a lot of people offer within 2 to 5%. So every 1,000 you're getting 50 or 20 to $50 back every 1,000. But going back to the debt, so a lot of people end up getting scared because it's a lot of money to handle, especially if you're pretty much given. So I really recommend not to, for me personally, I use it to make money. So if you're not really in it to make money, I personally, at a decent age, you don't really need more than $1,000 a month for yourself. Like personally, even if you're upper class, maybe even higher middle class, I personally don't think you need more than $1,000 to live with groceries. Maybe if you have a family, but if you're single, maybe have a wife, maybe one kid, I still can't see a way you can possibly spend $1,000 on personal needs besides rent, besides insurance, but anything that's to reward yourself, I don't see anything outside of $1,000. So as a personal use for a credit card, I would stick to anything lower than 1,000 and then consistently pay it off throughout the month or as you're doing it. But if you're looking into buying it here's an example, I used it for reselling. I'm kind of out of it now. I own a Airbnb, so but that's another topic. I would not use it unless you're using it to make money, anything over 1,000, because if you start getting over 1,000, they're giving you, let's say, $3,000, you're gonna end up spending like you have $3,000, and then in reality you're only getting paid $2,000 a month. Now you just maxed out 3,000, and that's not even with your other bills. So imagine half your bill, so now you have $1,000 to pay off 3,000, and that's never going to work out. I personally never got into that situation because I've understand from a young age, once you mess it up, it's hard to build up, but it's not impossible. But I'm saying, why would you want to put yourself in a position where you have to rebuild that foundation when in reality you should have just done it right the first time? But a lot of people don't know that. That's why I'm making this video, to help others understand and help others build up again. So secured cards, regular credit card, learn how to use it. If it's not for personal use, I would recommend starting to build up, maybe even a business. But another thing, you don't want to mix business with personal life. You'll end up paying taxes twice, but I'll make another video on that, how to separate business, how to form a business, an LLC, and how to put yourself in a position where you can write off taxes, you can do everything, so that way you're getting more for which, but there's a lot more benefits if you run a business. But personal, like an example, reselling, I would buy anywhere from $1,000 to $3,000 worth of shoes. I buy it, I get 3 to 5% back. So that alone, I'm making $100, maybe $200 in cash back or points. I sell all the shoes, pay off the cards that. But then again, here's another thing. A lot of people don't know you have to pay your credit cards within the pay period. Say you open the credit card on the 2nd and you spend throughout the month. That means you have to have it under 30% of your spending limit. So I would recommend paying it on the first if that's your deadline. So here's another example. Say you have a $2,000 credit card limit and you spend all the way up to $1,500. That is 75% of your usage. Anything over 30% will hurt you. I personally think anything over 10% will possibly hurt you. I like to stay under 5%, but to keep it safe, it's 30%. But I don't like to have that much room, because in reality, it should be paid off anyways. You shouldn't be using it like that. You shouldn't be, because you're kind of cutting yourself short at the end of the month, because you're gonna feel like you're kind of coming out of pocket if you're using it to make money. So what I recommend is, say you have $15 worth of credit you have to pay off. I would pay it off a day or two before. Pay it down at least to maybe $100. Let them run your credit through the billing cycle, because if you just pay it off, it's gonna look like you never used your card at all. You're gonna have zero usage. The bank's gonna run your credit, and it's just gonna be like, it's like if you never used the card even though you did. So I would keep maybe some type of balance, nothing too high. You want to keep it under 30%. 30% of 2,000 is $600. You want to keep it under, that's if your credit limit is over $2,000. So you just got to do the math. But even if your credit limit was 1,000, you have to have it under 300, that 30%. If not, financially, they're going to run your credit, not run your credit, but they're going to bill you. It's called a billing cycle. And your usage is going to go up over 30%, and that will possibly tank your score. But like I said, I would keep it under 10% personally, which is $100. Keep 100 on the balance, let them run it, and then once the third comes, it's going to update. So it's going to say minimum balance, and then it's going to say payment due, and then it's going to say balance, and then your balance is going to be whatever. I would just pay the whole balance, even though your minimum balance will probably be $30. Sometimes they don't even give you a minimum balance, which gives you another 2-3 weeks to pay off the balance. But I wouldn't let it roll, because once you let it roll, now you have to pay the $100 plus whatever else you spent the rest of the month. So pay it off, and after that you just rinse and repeat. And then as you're spending, like I would spend personally, before I got my Venture, which is a travel card for Capital, I have an Everyday Express card, and it has credit limit's not too bad. It's up there, and I would probably spend around, on a good release week, on month. So for April, I know I did 6,000, like 62, and that doesn't mean I bought 60. Like I did buy $62,000 worth of shoes, but in a way, I was buying $1,000 worth of shoes, sell them, buy, and I would just keep paying it back. You can pay back your credit card and keep using the balance, and then that's what I was doing. So I was buying shoes, I was paying back the credit card, using it again, paying it back. So that month alone, that credit card in particular, it was 3%. So 6,000, 3%. So that's $180 just to buy $6,000 worth of shoes. They gave me $180 just to buy $6,000 worth. It was paid off, and then that's besides all the profit. So if you're using it for not business use, but for something like that's going to generate income, I would really recommend it. Just make sure to pay yourself back. A lot of people forget to pay themselves back. They sell the item, they sell whatever they're going to do. Sometimes they buy the flip couches, flip TVs, flip cars, but they forget to pay the card back. They think they have all this money, and once the bill comes up, they already spent all that money. And that's where a lot of people get into debt. That's why a lot of people don't use credit cards, don't do this, don't get into stuff. You got to realize real estate is like 90% of it, it's all debt. A lot of people don't, actually 95% of people that buy real estate, it's nowhere near paid off. It's a 30-year term. Most of the time you basically only have enough for a down payment, and that alone is $200,000 to $300,000 worth of debt. And a lot of people are like, don't get into debt, but a lot of people own houses that are saying that. So it's very contradicting when they're kind of just being a hypocrite in a way where don't get yourself into debt, don't do this, but then they owe a house that they're paying off every month. It's the same thing, but it's more of a monthly payment. It's the same thing with credit cards as well, but you have to pay it back every month. Sometimes you can do a balance transfer to other credit cards, but that's just throwing debt onto another card and just pay it off. Like really, you should never get yourself in a position where you cannot pay off the credit card. And if you do, you're not utilizing your points. You're not utilizing, you're just using it to splurge. And at that point, you don't need a credit card if you're just going to do that. Another topic is a good paying job. A lot of people don't like to work, and I understand, but if you do not work, I would not recommend a credit card, just because it's hard to pay it back whenever you don't have a job, you don't have income coming. So even if I were to buy, here's an example, if I were to buy $2,000 worth of shoes or a $2,000 couch to flip, and I couldn't sell them, or I couldn't sell the couch within that month of it being due, you need to have money to still pay it. The bank's not going to just say, oh, it's, since you didn't pay it off, I'm just going to give you. The bank don't care. They're going to make 30%. They're going to charge you, and your points are going to go 20-30% down. Like, so I would recommend have a good paying job, have a full-time job actually. And a lot of people don't like that, and a lot of people don't want to work, but you got to understand that's what's going to get you these high credit limits, because the bank's going to see you pulling in $4,000, $5,000, $10,000 a month, and that's what they're going to give you that credit limit based off. I did not leverage all this money just being at home all day. I didn't leverage all this money reselling shoes unless I were to scale it. But at the same time, that's not paper money. But what I mean by paper money is it's not a W-2 job. You can't just go to the bank and be like, I sold $100,000 worth of shoes. They're going to be like, prove it. Unless you weren't tracking none of it, unless you weren't on QuickBooks tracking it, profit, paying taxes, you can't really do that. You can't really go to the bank and prove it. And if you do, you would have to pay taxes, and a lot of people don't like to pay taxes. That's why they don't account for it. And a lot of people get away with it, but eventually it will come up to you. But that's another subject. So going back to the job, you have to have a good paying job. You have to have a decent job, and your debt to income has to be decent. It doesn't have to be great, but you having 3 cars under your name and you make $4,000, and in total your cars are $2,500, and then you still have, they're not going to give you anything because you have a $2,500 car note, and then they're just going to be like, well, we can give you a secure card. They're never going to deny you for a secure card because you're the one putting the money up. So I would say, I understand, look good, feel good, but not when you're in debt, not when you have a $50,000 car, and no one, to be honest, no one really cares. I really am not necessarily a hypocrite, but I did put myself in that position because I was 18. I was like, hey, I've been saving up, I got money, and let me go buy this car. It's not too bad now, but back then it was, my car note is $633 a month, and it's a lot of money. But looking back at it's just a lesson. I wouldn't have understood that even when my mom was telling me like, hey, don't do it, but being young, being ignorant, I guess you can say, I didn't understand until I got put in that position where I'm like, damn, this is a lot of money. I'm not saying that it is now, but when you're working at a not minimum wage job, but when you're barely making it, paying rent, and people don't really care what you're driving, to be honest. So I would say save money, have a good paying job, get those credit cards, build up those points, and use them like a debit card. That's the only thing I could really say besides going on to rewards and everything. Your spending, it's all going to depend on what you get in the end. So like I said, with the cash back and everything, they're going to reward you to use their money. Like, it's crazy as it sounds, they're rewarding you to use their money. And a lot of people don't understand that you're getting the same way you're spending $40 with your debit card and not getting anything is the same way you're spending $40 with a credit card and getting 3% back. But a lot of people, well, I'm just going to use my debit card, I don't care. And those people are never going to learn. That's what I'm saying. So get that credit card, spend it like you're spending with your debit card, pay it back same day. Don't ever forget. If you're one of those that that doesn't have really good income and you're spending your 2K and you're maxing it out and you don't have any money at the end of the month, I wouldn't recommend a credit card. I would recommend a secure card, so you know it's harder to spend your money than the bank's money. But if you're more than capable of spending that money, get the credit card, spend it like your debit card. And I would say spend it and just pay it back. And then once the cycle comes on say it's on the 30th, pay it a day before back, and then let it run your credit. Not really run your credit, but let it bill it. The next day after it's due, pay off the balance, and then just rinse and repeat. So that way you're building this cash back. And sometimes it even lets you use the cash back to pay some of your balance. So then again, it's free money at the end. And going into the points are for travel, for flights, and for hotels. So you spending $1,000 and they give you 5x points, 5,000 points to go to a round trip. I was looking the other day to go to a round trip from Austin to New York, there and back. It is around 110,000 points, and then that's the economy. So it's a 3.5 hour flight going over there. But to put it in perspective, it's pretty much spending wise. Let's do the math. 20,000 for a $400 to $600 flee from there and back, maybe even more, maybe give or take. But just from you spending that much and paying back and spending, if you're using it to make money, so realistically you're not coming out of pocket for that 20 grand. You're buying $1,000 couch, selling it, paying it back, buying another $1,000 couch, spending it, paying it back, buying it. You're just kind of recycling. It's not personal money. It's not you spending that money. It's you spending that money to make more money. So, and a lot of people don't understand to, really take advantage of the money they are giving you, but at the same time, don't let it take advantage of you. So that's pretty much anything I can really cover on that. Leveraging those cash backs, those travel points, everything is pretty much explanatory. Just make sure it's not a monthly thing with credit cards. You have to pay it back the same month. If your due date's on the 30th and it's 25th already and you have $1,000, you gotta pan it out because you got 5 days to pay off that balance before it bills you. Because if your credit's $1,000 and it lets it bill it when you have an $800 balance, they're gonna pretty much screw your credit. So it's not them screwing your credit, it's you screwed yourself because you couldn't pay that $800 before they billed you. But say if you have it under $100, they bill it on the 1st, you're like, okay, let me pay this $100 and then spend it. Then continue spending on the card and then pay it back a day or two before the billings end. And that's pretty much it. I would say, to pretty much summarize it, build your credit, secured credit card. Once you get that secured, build your credit for maybe 6 months, and then switch on to a credit card and just use it. Use it. Don't even if you're looking at your checking account, your regular, you pretty much don't even need any transactions. It's really rare that I use my debit card. The only time I get money taken out of my checking account is to pay off my credit cards, and that's pretty much just coming in money, taking out money, spending this, spending that, paying it back. You're pretty much getting rewarded just to spend money, just the same way you do every day, just on a credit card. Make sure you pay it back. You have a 30-day on a credit card, and after everything's paid off, you just do it again the same month. And that's where a lot of people they frown upon having credit. Why don't you just use your own money? Why, if somebody's giving me $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, why am I going to use my personal money? I can keep that tuck away and then use the bank's money, and they're going to give me money to use their money. So don't let the media, or don't let anybody tell you that it's not good. As long as you treat it like it's good and don't use it to get yourself into a hole, it's bulletproof. So I to wrap it up, I would say secured card, build up 6 months, try to apply for a regular card. Maybe they'll give you another 500,000. Use it like a debit card. You cannot pay bills like rent. You cannot, because they use the routing and the account number, so you cannot pay. A lot of people would be in debt. They did that. But you cannot pay bills, unless it's like a water bill and they let you use your card, or like. But for most bills, you cannot pay bills with credit cards. So for anybody trying to get a credit card to pay your bills, it's not going to work. It's for personal use only. And then, but yeah, just make sure you pay it back every month. Use those points. I would say stack the points. The only thing you should really be kind of taking is the cash back to pay off your balance. That's what I do. Anything besides that, just let it stack. And for any recommended banks, just go with the bank you bank with. Anywhere from Bank of America, Chase, pretty much anyone, Navy Federal, anyone that provides credit cards and you've been with them a while, just having a good job, getting deposits, they're going to give you a credit card. They're like, okay, Jesus has been here for 5 months and he's starting to get a credit card. Of course, we're going to look back. They're going to look back at you and be like, he's getting money every month. He's doing this, he's doing that. He's paying on, he's depositing $3,000 worth of checks, his direct deposit, whatever. They give you a card for $1,000 and then you just use it every 6 months. Most of the time, every 6 months, you can request a credit limit if you really need it. I just don't recommend, just don't apply just anywhere. A lot of cards they're used for different reasons, so please read like the fine print, I guess. Another thing is too, it hurts you